Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. For 30 years, UVM's College of Agriculture and Life Sciences has offered a year-long class where students manage every aspect of running a dairy farm. It's known as CREAM, and it's arguably the toughest class at UVM. Over the years, Across the Fence has done several stories on CREAM, and in every one, the students consistently mention two specific details: how little sleep they get and how CREAM changed their lives. I'm joined now by Across the Fence's Keith Silva. Last January, you did a story featuring 3 CREAM students, and you recently went back to visit them. What's changed?
Judy, I think I can sum up the answer best by paraphrasing one of the students. How could you go through this experience and not be changed? There aren't too many college classes that span an entire year. Then again, there aren't too many classes like CREAM.
The morning milking at the UVM farm starts early. But for the CREAM class of 2017, it's late.
For the past year, these are our cows.
CREAM is the cooperative for real education and agricultural management. For a full year, 15 UVM undergraduates mind, milk, and manage a herd of 50 dairy cows. In January of 2017, Across the Fence met Alex Fisher, Hannah Zaneski, and Jennifer Van Voorhees as they were starting their year in CREAM. Like many of her fellow CREAM classmates, Fisher did not have a background in dairy farming.
I've never milked a cow. I've never cleaned up after a cow. Really been around cows in general. Where I come from, it's not really cow country per se, so this entire experience is new for me.
In the last 12 months, Fisher's learned a lot about cows, but that knowledge pales in comparison to what she's learned about herself.
I like to think that I'm a little different just because it's hard to not come out of this experience being different, because this is not an experience that most people get to go through, and you really find yourself pushing yourself in ways that you never thought you would, like getting no sleep and still having to be on your game working with this to make sure that the cows get the best care.
She can't imagine waking up at 3:30 in the morning to come milk cows.
Watching a less experienced version of herself puts a smile on Zaneski's face.
Looking back at the beginning, it's just been a long time ago. Everything I know then was nothing compared to what I know now. It's so much work. I think a lot of us are tired at this point, even just after a year of doing it, and ready to give it to the next group, but we're still gonna miss it.
Van Voorhees has discovered something she says many CREAM students share: the need to almost always be here. And not because they have to, they want to.
The days we don't have chores, I'm often here. So I basically am here every single day of the week. I don't really know what it is, to be honest, but I think it's a lot about the responsibility. This is our farm and everything is on us. So we want to share that with everyone in our lives, which is really nice. All my friends who have came to visit here and family I've brought to the cows.
The 2017 CREAM class is now training the next set of students. By late January, the cows and the milking and the chores will be somebody else's responsibility. Which means Fisher, Zaneski, and Van Voorhees will have something they haven't had a lot of: time.
I will have an immense amount of time on my hands that I don't know what to do with, so.
I don't even know. Probably studying. I feel like that's the correct thing to say. Studying, just focusing on sleeping, schoolwork, vet school applications, kind of things that I wasn't able to focus on as much during my time in CREAM. It's going to be ski season, so I'm hoping to get out there a bit. Priorities.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know yet. I'm definitely going to hang out with some friends who aren't in CREAM because I've kind of put them off for a little bit. This has been my life for the past year. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to do with all this free time now. It'll be nice.
CREAM has changed these young women, and they know it will do the same for the next class and the next and the next. Because CREAM is more than a class. It's an experience.
It's been so much fun. I've met so many new people. I I don't know what I would do without having done this program. It means so much to me that I was able to apply and get in, and just this experience has been one that I will never be able to do again. Like, it's one of a kind, and it means so much to me.
CREAM is going to be a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot out of you, but you get so much from it that it's hard to put into words, like how much you get from it, like the feelings of like responsibility and like the friendships you make.
It's tough, but you can always get through it, and you can always rely on your other CREAM members to get you through it, because you're all going through the same thing, and it helps because you know what you're all going through, and that's something really special, just because no one else really gets it if you haven't been through it. So just rely on each other, and everything will be okay. Probably.
In this University of Vermont class, the students change, which is good because it means CREAM always comes out on top.
Let's go, ladies, move!
At the University of Vermont, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
All of us at Across the Fence would like to say congratulations to the CREAM class of 2017 and wish the incoming class good luck. You're going to need it. Our next segment takes us from the barn to a forest in Underhill. Rebecca Gollin tells us more.
9424, 9423, 9422.
Students from the University of Vermont are measuring the vitals of this forest in Underhill. The checkup is part of an annual survey of forest health in Vermont.
We can definitely tell what's happening with the trees, at least short term, by looking at last year's data compared to this year's data.
The students are interns for the Vermont Monitoring Cooperative, or VMC. VMC is a partnership of the state of Vermont, the USDA Forest Service, and UVM. The group collects and maintains data about the conditions of Vermont's forests.
We take health, and we take the diameter at breast height, DBH, and then we also do some qualitative assessments of the trees to measure their health, like their vigor, the amount of dieback, so the amount of growth that didn't continue from last year, and transparency of the foliage. And we also do some assessments of the actual seedlings that are growing to tell what's regenerating, what's successful at the plot, what likes growing there and what doesn't.
VMC maintains a network of 42 forest monitoring plots around the state, including 17 at Mount Mansfield. Their focus on forest health means taking a close look at anything that might affect the ecosystem.
We look at air, water, wildlife, and then the actual trees for figuring out what the state of the Vermont forest is.
Jim Duncan is a researcher and analyst at the VMC. The information the group has collected provides a detailed look at forest health over the years.
While we do focus on the forests of Vermont, we're looking at kind of the regional context of that. And in general, Vermont's 80% forested, so most of the state is our playground, and we really get to think about the air, water forests around the state.
VMC was created in 1990 when it became clear that various researchers around the state were working on the same types of projects. The idea was to gather and catalog data about forest ecosystems in Vermont and create an accessible information hub for scientists around the state and region.
It was born out of the idea that there's people who are all trying to kind of do the same thing, and they didn't know that each other were working on the same projects. So the catalog kind of sprung from that, but it's become really taken on a life of its own as a way to get data out there for people. And often we just also provide a home for data that has no home.
Some of their studies can take quite a while, including a couple of soil monitoring sites that are part of a 200-year survey of soil chemistry and health.
Sugar Maple Live.
Sugar Maple Live.
Yellow Birch Live.
Yellow Birch Live, another one.
Tracking the same forest plots every year helps to identify any pest outbreaks and diseases in the short term. But in the long term, the data that VMC collects is crucial for getting a big picture view of what's going on in Vermont's forests.
More than anything, I think that those monitoring frameworks provide the way to ask the next question, right? 20 years ago, people weren't really thinking about climate change in the same way. Without the monitoring data that we've been collecting for 20 years, you'd have to wait another 20 to start answering those climate change questions.
3 more red maple.
What I'm doing is looking at the down woody debris. So how many branches have fallen, what size they are, how many there are on the ground, that sort of thing, to sort of paint a picture both of how much carbon there is in the forest, and in addition, what kind of structure there is for different wildlife, like birds and that sort of thing.
Josh Hallman is a forest health specialist with the state. He's here to help the VMC crew collect data.
It's important to track these changes annually. A lot can change year to year, but more importantly, these are long-term plots. And so the more data that we can collect year after year, it builds a richer data set, and it can inform us a lot more clearly about what changes are occurring in the environment and within our forests here as well.
To get the full picture of forest health, the group monitors different aspects of air and water quality as well, maintaining a number of testing stations around the state.
We have several programs that focus in different places. We have some intensive sites where we try to co-locate a lot of different monitoring programs so that you can kind of monitor the status of the ecosystem and its response across a number of different variables, from the soils to the water to the trees and the wildlife responses.
One of those intensive sites is right here in Underhill, where a field full of air quality monitoring instruments sits just down the road from the forest plots.
We have a couple of different rain gauges. We have the Chandelier rain gauge over there, which is digital.
As an air quality technician for VMC, Mim Pendleton collects samples and maintains the many instruments used here.
We have precipitation measurements, and then we have chemical analysis of the samples. So if you know how much rain or how much air you've sucked through a filter pack, you know what the volume is, and from that you can know what the total deposition in a place is and the concentration. So those deposition and concentration measurements are what scientists look at to, see if there's going to be some impact on like aquatic water bodies or vegetation or whatever.
Pendleton has seen positive changes over the years, such as vast improvements in acid rain after federal legislation in the 1980s.
The pH of rain back then was in the low 4s, sometimes high 3s, which is really acid, and now it's in the 5s, so much less acid. And pH, the higher the number, the less acidity. Plus it's a logarithmic thing, so it's not like, oh, it's only 2 times less acid. It's more like it's 20 times less acid. It's a different order of magnitude.
According to the data, Vermont's forest health is good right now.
In general, the forests are pretty resilient here, and they've recovered a lot since the clearing in the 1800s. So my perspective is, on the whole, we're doing pretty well. But certainly things like fragmentation and water quality challenges are going to be huge for the state, and the forests have a pretty big role to play in that.
Keeping an eye on challenges to the state by tracking the health of its ecosystem. The Vermont Monitoring Cooperative has the information it needs to keep going. In Underhill, I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.